It was reported last night by Reuters that the Biden administration is working on a plan to require nearly all visitors to the United States to be vaccinated. There will be one exception, I'm sure, which we'll talk about in a minute. But first, let's start with the article. Washington, August 4th. The Biden administration is developing a plan to require nearly all foreign visitors to the United States to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 as part of eventually lifting travel restrictions that bar much of the world from entering the United States, a White House official told Reuters on Wednesday. So this president, who spoke out against Trump when he banned travel from China and other countries, is now working to make sure that all visitors to the United States are vaccinated. Of course, that is only if they're trying to enter the country legally. Right now, at our southern border, COVID-positive illegal aliens are not only allowed to enter the country, they're allowed to get on a bus and travel throughout the country. They're not even required to take a COVID test. But if they do and the test comes back positive, they're just told to quarantine and left to go on their merry way. NBC News reported on this back in March. Brownsville, Texas. Miriam, a 35-year-old asylum seeker from Honduras, crossed the Rio Grande at dawn Monday with her young son and turned herself into the authorities. A few hours later, she was released, and the first thing she did was take a rapid test for COVID-19 at the Brownsville bus station. They told her her test came out positive. Right now, we're tested for COVID, and they separated about 8 of us because we were positive, she told Telemundo. We are waiting right now. She was waiting to catch a bus to Houston. Other migrant families who also said they tested positive were waiting to go to other destinations, North Carolina, Maryland, and New Jersey. So that was back in March, but nothing has changed since then. It was reported yesterday that 1,500 COVID-positive patients have been released into one town in Texas in just 1 week. This is from the Washington Examiner. McAllen, Texas. A border city in South Texas declared a local disaster this week as it struggles to respond to surging cases of the coronavirus among migrants as thousands are released by the Border Patrol onto the street every week. Last week, a record-high 7,000 migrants were released in downtown McAllen, where they were immediately tested for the coronavirus through a city contractor. More than 1,500 people tested positive over the past 7 days, according to a city document issued Wednesday, compared to a total of 7,000 confirmed cases over the past 5 months. Those who tested positive are told to quarantine for 2 days, but are ultimately released into the public. So which is it? Is the situation with COVID so dire that the vaccine needs to be forced on all Americans, to the point that we won't be allowed to take part in society unless we get it? Or is it so safe that allowing COVID-positive asylum seekers to freely roam the countryside is no big deal? Or is there something else going on here? Does the political ruling class care more about the lives of illegal aliens coming across the border than they do our lives? Or do they want the virus to spread further and faster through the country, knowing that it will kill Americans, and are using the crisis to take more control over how we live? The way I see it, one of those things has to be true, and they're both unacceptable. My bet is that the Biden administration cares most about power and control. They're willing to risk our lives to gain more potential voters, and they're willing to risk our lives so that they can justify taking away more of our rights and freedoms. Back when this whole thing started, I said that the Democrats wanted it to be as bad as possible so they could use it to hurt Donald Trump politically. I was right about that. What I was wrong about was that it was much bigger than just Donald Trump. They're using this pandemic for everything, from trying to raise the minimum wage to federally taking over our elections. They're using this pandemic to try to take full control over the economy. They're getting as much use out of this pandemic as possible. If they're allowing illegal aliens to spread COVID throughout the country, then all of the complaining about the unvaccinated is nothing more than a political tactic. And all of the policy proposals and mandates are about nothing more than control. On my last video, someone asked me why I'm so against people getting vaccinated. I never said I was, and I'm not. Everyone who wants to get it should do so. What I'm against is coercion. I'm against the government telling us how to live our lives while they get to decide for themselves. I'm against there being one standard for us and a different standard for illegal aliens. And I'm against them using our suffering, most of which they created, to achieve their political goals. Either our situation is so dire that the unvaccinated should not be allowed to enter the country, and everyone here needs a vaccine passport, or it's benign to the point that letting unvaccinated, COVID-positive illegal aliens travel throughout every part of the country uninterrupted is a perfectly acceptable thing to do. They can't have it both ways. And the fact that they do is proof positive that they're using COVID as nothing more than just a political weapon. And that's the simple truth. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you all would like to support this channel, check out the links in the description, and let's keep putting some common sense back into the great debate.